Let me ask you something simple, but sharp. When was the last time you felt more alive than the photo you posted? We live in an age of plastic souls, where filters look more authentic than faces, where a smile uploaded on a feed feels louder than the silence someone carries inside. And here's the tragedy. We scroll through oceans of perfect lives, while drowning quietly in our own. It's a culture of seconds. 15-second clips, 3-second attention spans, 1-second dopamine hits. But here's the paradox. The shorter the content, the longer the emptiness lasts. And before I go further, if you already feel that sting in your chest, if this isn't just another casual scroll, but something you know you need to hear, then hit subscribe right now. Not for me, for you. Because in a world where distraction is currency, choosing to stay awake is rebellion. Now let's get brutally honest. We've been taught to envy the neighbor's grass, to believe someone else's garden is greener. But envy doesn't water your own roots. It only burns them. And no matter how many times you zoom in on their flowers, your soil stays dry. Unless you cultivate it with intention. That's the missing word today, intention. Without it, you don't live, you perform. You don't connect, you compare. And the irony? The more you compare, the more invisible you feel. Let me paint it sharper. Think of how many lies get posted every second. Lies polished with smiles, lies wrapped in living my best life captions. And on the other side of the screen, people starving for meaning, hypnotized by appearances, consuming illusions like fast food for the soul. But deep down, the body gets sick on junk food, and the soul gets sick on junk truth. And the symptoms? Anxiety, numbness, that quiet suspicion that everyone else is ahead while you're left behind. Yet here's the hook. There is no ahead. There is only inside. Here's where philosophy meets your timeline. Socrates whispered, "Know thyself." Not post thyself, not market thyself, but know. Because the second you stop knowing, you start outsourcing your worth to strangers' likes. Jung reminded us of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide. But in a world obsessed with performance, the shadow doesn't disappear. It leaks into your relationships, into your choices, into your sleepless nights. And when you deny it long enough, the mask becomes heavier than the truth. Let me give you the twist that bites. When you truly find yourself, comparison dies. You stop needing the neighbor's grass because you realize you have roots. You stop chasing the filtered face because you recognize your own scars as proof of being alive. And once you accept both your beauty and your flaws, you stop begging the world for permission to exist. That's the power of self-knowledge. It doesn't make you prettier on Instagram. It makes you real in a world terrified of reality. And maybe that's why authenticity feels like gold today. Because it's rare. Because everyone is busy polishing their masks, while very few dare to polish their soul. And every time you choose to go deeper instead of wider, every time you choose to feel instead of just appear, you become the rare one. The one people don't just scroll past but stop for. Not because you're louder, but because you're true. That's where we start. Not with the fear of missing out on someone else's life, but with the courage of not missing your own. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What weighs more? The truth you hide, or the mask you wear to cover it? Because here's the irony of our age. We don't just wear masks to survive in society. We wear them so tightly for so long that one day the mask feels more us than the skin underneath. And that's the tragedy. We start mistaking performance for identity. We start confusing applause with connection. We start thinking we're seen, when in reality it's only the mask being praised. Now, let's get sharper. We scroll through endless feeds of curated lives, where even vulnerability is staged, tears captured at the right angle, captions about healing carefully edited to inspire envy instead of honesty, struggles marketed as brand assets. Tell me, when pain becomes content, where does healing even happen? We don't share anymore. We negotiate. We trade fragments of ourselves for drops of validation. But validation is a drug, and it works just like one. The first like feels like a spark. The next 100 feel like oxygen. And then nothing is enough. You post louder, you perform harder, you exaggerate further. And still, the silence in your chest grows louder than the applause on your screen. Because here's the bitter truth. When you confuse validation with love, you will always feel alone, even in a crowd of 1,000 likes. Let's bring philosophy into this, but softly, without textbooks. Socrates didn't say convince the crowd. He said know yourself. But how can you know yourself if every minute you're busy curating another? Self for strangers? Jung warned about the shadow, the parts we hide because we're ashamed. But shadows don't vanish, they leak. Into your arguments with people you love, into your anxiety at night, into the envy that burns when you see someone else smiling, even if you know their smile is fake. The shadow denied is not the shadow gone. It's the shadow in control. And maybe that's why so many people today look polished online but broken offline. They don't just fear being unseen. They fear being seen too deeply. Now let me cut deeper with spirituality. We live in a time of fast food spirituality. Manifest your dream life in 3 steps. Heal trauma with a 15-second affirmation. Buy the candle, light the crystal, repeat the mantra, done. But spirituality without depth is decoration. And decoration doesn't transform. Real spirituality is brutal. It doesn't flatter your ego, it strips it. It doesn't hand you shortcuts. It forces you to sit in silence until the noise of the world fades, and your own noise is all you hear. That's why real transformation is rare, because it's not marketable. You can sell rituals, you can sell hacks, but you can't sell the courage to face your own darkness. And so people choose decoration over depth, ritual over truth, mask over soul. Here's the paradox I want you to feel. The more we run from silence, the more silence hunts us. The more we run from truth, the more it erupts in our dreams. The more we try to look whole, the more fractured we feel when no one's watching. The mask doesn't protect you, it isolates you. It's not armor, it's a cage. And the longer you wear it, the heavier it becomes, until one day it breaks you. Now let me flip it. What if the very thing you fear, the mask cracking, is the doorway you need? Because when the mask breaks, the soul breathes. When the mask falls, people don't just see your brand, they see you. Your contradictions, your flaws, your rawness. And here's the secret. The soul doesn't repel people. The mask does. Because the mask whispers, be like me, envy me, compete with me. But the soul whispers, I'm human, like you, let's connect. One isolates, the other unites. Let me provoke you with 3 questions. When was the last time you told the whole truth, not the convenient truth? When was the last time you said, I'm lost without dressing it up, as a poetic caption? When was the last time you admitted envy, resentment, or fear without shame, but with honesty? Because until you do, you'll never trust your own wholeness. And without that trust, no like, no follower, no applause will ever feel enough. And here's the cultural cost. We've built a society overdosed on appearances. We've made performance more important than presence. We've made distraction the new opiate of the masses. And what do we get in return? People overstimulated but undernourished. People with infinite content but zero contact with themselves. People who look full on the outside and starve on the inside. Here's the uncomfortable truth I need you to take home. You don't fear other people's masks. You fear your own mask falling. Because deep down you know, if it falls, you'll have to meet yourself, without filters, without likes, without applause, and that's terrifying. But let me tell you something no algorithm will. When the mask cracks, you don't die. You live. You stop begging strangers for permission to exist. You stop comparing your roots to your neighbor's flowers. You stop outsourcing your worth. That's the first taste of freedom in a culture addicted to lies. And that's where this block lands. Masks don't protect you. They suffocate you. And the only way out is through. Let me ask you something radical. When was the last time you met yourself? Without apology? Without disguise? Without asking for permission? Because here's the hidden truth. Most people have never met themselves. They've met their masks. They've met their performances. They've met the edited versions they've polished for years. But the raw, unfiltered, inconvenient self? That's a stranger. Now, let's push deeper. Why is self-knowledge so rare? Because it's the only journey you can't outsource. You can hire a coach, read the books, binge the podcasts, repeat the affirmations. But the moment of truth comes in silence. When no one claps and no one posts about it. That's when the mirror turns sharp. That's when your excuses lose power. That's when the shadows start whispering. And that's why people avoid it. Because knowing yourself isn't glamorous. It's messy. It's raw. It forces you to admit, I'm not only what I show, I'm also what I hide. But here's the paradox. Until you embrace both, you're incomplete. Think of it this way. The neighbor's grass might look greener, but envy never made anyone's roots grow. Only intention waters them. And intention is born from knowing. What is mine? What is not? What is me? What is just borrowed? Self-knowledge isn't about building a prettier mask. It's about learning you don't need one. Let me flip with a dose of irony. We live in a culture obsessed with hacking everything. Biohacks, life hacks, productivity hacks. But the one thing you cannot hack is yourself. You can't shortcut your way to wholeness. You can't fast forward through your own shadow. That's why real growth feels slow. Because it's not about upgrading the mask. It's about uninstalling it. And uninstalling takes courage, because when you rip off the mask, you realize your envy wasn't about the neighbor, your loneliness wasn't about the lack of likes, your emptiness wasn't about what the world withheld, it was about what you withheld from yourself. Truth. Now let's tie it with philosophy. Subtle, lived, not academic. Socrates asked one question that terrifies. Modern culture. What is the examined life? Today, the examined life isn't just rare, it's rebellious. Because the unexamined life is profitable, it sells products, it fuels distraction. But the examined life, that's freedom. And freedom doesn't consume as easily. Jung reminded us of the shadow. Yet in the rush for positivity, people treat shadow work as toxic. But the truth is the opposite. Ignoring the shadow is what poisons you. Integrating it is what makes you whole. And that's the paradox no guru will sell you. Wholeness is not about erasing flaws. It's about owning them, so they stop owning you. Now let me give you the twist. Self-knowledge is not about becoming better. It's about becoming real. Better is a comparison. Real is liberation. Better keeps you in the race, always chasing someone else's version of enough. Real pulls you out of the race, because suddenly, you're not running against anyone. And once you stop running, you start living. Here's the uncomfortable sting. Without self-knowledge, you'll forever depend on external scripts. Scripts about how success should look. Scripts about how happiness should feel. Scripts about how you should dress, speak, love, even suffer. But those scripts are recycled illusions. And the more you follow them, the further you drift from yourself. That's why the most radical act in today's culture isn't rebellion against the system. It's rebellion against the mask. It's saying, I refuse to live a borrowed script. I will write my own. Now let's make it personal. When was the last time you sat in silence? Without music, without scrolling, without escaping, long enough for your own voice to emerge? At first it feels unbearable. The silence exposes your cravings, your fears, your unhealed wounds. But if you stay long enough, something else happens. The noise dies. And underneath the noise, there you are. Raw, unpolished, human, whole. And once you meet that self, you can never go back to being satisfied with masks again. Let me hit you with this twist. You will never feel enough until you accept you are both beautiful and broken. You will never feel free until you stop needing to appear flawless. You will never feel connected until you reveal the parts of you that scare you. Because connection isn't built on perfection. It's built on honesty. And in a culture addicted to illusions, honesty is the rarest currency. That's why authenticity is gold. And self-knowledge is the only mint that produces it. So here's the punchline of this block. Self-knowledge is not a luxury. It's oxygen. Without it, you don't just risk living shallow. You risk not living at all, only performing. And the world doesn't need another performance. It needs you. Let me ask you one final question. What's more terrifying, being judged for who you truly are, or being loved for a version of you that doesn't even exist? Most people choose the second. They'd rather be loved for the mask, because at least the mask feels safe. But here's the tragedy. Every time someone praises your mask, the real you sinks a little deeper into silence. Now imagine this. You live your whole life behind the performance, the curated smile, the filtered success, the borrowed opinions. And at the end, when the stage lights go out, you realize no one ever met you, not even yourself. That's not a life. That's an audition that never ended. Here's the pivot. You can choose differently. You can choose to step out of the audition. You can choose authenticity. Not because it's trendy, but because it's oxygen. Because the real apocalypse isn't robots or collapse. It's numbness. It's billions of people scrolling their lives away, mistaking distraction for destiny, mistaking appearances for existence. The antidote isn't another hack. It's courage. The courage to be real. Let me twist the knife. Being authentic will cost you. It will cost you approval. It will cost you belonging in rooms built on illusion. It will cost you likes, followers, maybe even comfort. But what you gain yourself. And once you gain yourself, no one can take that away. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing belonging, you attract it. Because humans don't crave perfection. They crave resonance. And resonance is born the second you dare to show your truth. So when you dare to stand without the mask, you're not just freeing yourself. You're giving permission for others to do the same. And that ripple, that unseen revolution, is how cultures shift. Not with noise, with honesty. Let's come full circle. Remember how we began. Plastic souls. Filters brighter than faces. Envy that waters nothing. The antidote is not to run from the world, but to stop outsourcing your worth to it. Because the neighbor's grass, it may be green, it may be fake, it may even be dying, but it doesn't matter. The question is, will you water your own? Now here's where I challenge you directly. Don't just watch this video, nod, and scroll away. Do something with it. Pause. Reflect. Write. Sit in silence. Ask yourself, what mask am I still wearing? What part of me is begging to be seen? What truth have I delayed because I was afraid of judgment? And then, take one step today. Because truth delayed becomes truth denied. And the longer you wait, the heavier the mask gets. And if this video cracks something open in you, if it gave you even a glimpse of yourself beneath the performance, then don't disappear. Subscribe now, not because numbers matter, but because this is the rare space where masks drop, illusions burn, and we walk straight into the rawness together. And in the comments, I want you to tell me, what's one mask you're ready to retire? Because once you name it, it loses power. And maybe, just maybe, your courage becomes someone else's permission. So here's the final punchline. The truth you can't ignore. Life isn't about appearing alive. It's about being alive. And being alive means choosing honesty over applause. It means trading masks for mirrors. It means understanding that authenticity isn't the easy path, but it's the only path that leads back to you. Remember this. In a world addicted to illusions, truth is rebellion. And authenticity, that's the quiet revolution. So the only real question left is this. Will you keep performing, or will you finally dare to be seen? The choice is yours.